Okay, so I'm live now. So, hi everyone, greetings, family. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining me on the planet. My name is June Allen, and I am the founder of the Art of Greatness at juneallen.net. So, today I want to share some things that I wish I knew, okay, before I set up in private practice. Okay, I'm going to share 3 things that I wish I knew before I set up in private practice. But before I get into that, I just wanted to share. Hi, thanks for joining. I just wanted to share that obviously this particular live stream and the series of lives I'm going to be doing over the next few days is inspired by my new business school. It's called the North Star Business School, and it is going to be a 9-month experience for those that choose to work with me for the 9 months. And I'm going to teach you everything that I know about setting up in private practice. So if you are a student therapist, if you've just qualified, maybe you've been in private practice, or maybe you've been qualified for a while and you want to think about setting up in private practice, maybe starting as a little side hustle or whatever, this experience is going to be for you. We are going to be diving deep, not just in how to set up all of the practical things, but also how to deal with all the emotional things that come with setting up in private practice. Sorry, I'm just moving this a little bit so you can see me a bit better. Okay, yeah, all of the emotional things that come with what it means to set up in private practice. So if you're interested in exploring more about that, you can click the link in my bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. There's a full rundown of the curriculum. It's going to be over 4 terms over the next 9 months, and you can either, let's just say you've already in private practice and you just need kind of like a reset. You need a bit of a tune up. Maybe there's gaps in your private practice that you're not really doing at the moment. Like as an example, maybe the marketing. Maybe you're not really doing any marketing. You don't know how to market your business in a way. You don't know how to use social media. You don't know how to do live streams. All of that kind of stuff. You know, you can choose to work with me just on that particular. They're going to be like a series of mini courses within the whole 9-month experience, if that makes sense. So if you go to my website via the link in my bio, it will give you a full breakdown of what's going to be happening in each mini course as part of the 9-month experience. So you can either work with me across the whole 9 months, and I'll work with you and hold your hand and support you and coach you through the whole 9-month experience, or you can just pick the one mini course, one term, and I will work with you in that particular term. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, the other thing is, if you are wanting to get like a little taste of what it means to be able to kind of work with me and understand a bit more depth about what the course and stuff is about, I'm actually going to be doing a online open day. Okay, I'm going to be doing a virtual open day on Sunday the 1st of October at 7 p.m. Okay, Sunday the 1st of October at 7 p.m. is via Zoom. So again, if you click the link in my bio and go to my website, there will be a link there which you can register. Okay, you can register. So yeah, we'll have a conversation. We'll talk about. There'll be a live Q&A if you've got questions or anything about the course. There'll be loads of different things that we'll be talking about. But yeah, so if you're interested in joining me for the taste, I'll be doing some nice meditations, just so you can get an idea and get a bit of a flavour as to what actually is going to be happening over the course of 9 months. So if you're interested in joining me for that, again, you can click the link in my bio and find all of the details for that. Right, so let's dive into the content. So today I am going to be talking about 3 things that I wish I knew about private practice before I set everything up. So the first one is, when you're at college, the whole focus of it is really about the client. It's all about learning about different modalities. It's about you understanding, how to work with clients and all of that kind of stuff. The focus is very much around how you manage the client, how you deal with the client, how you work with the client, all that kind of stuff, which is great. However, I wish there was more emphasis and more stuff on the self-care of the therapist itself. Hi Beverly, thanks for joining. There needs to be more around the self-care of the therapist itself. And the reason for that, particularly as a black therapist, is not only do we have to deal with our own trauma and stuff like that, but we also have to deal with the trauma that we experience in that's going on in society, the current stuff, but also the stuff that we might experience from just listening to and holding space for our clients. And I think, because for clients for therapists that are black and people of color that are non-white, and not enough emphasis is put on that. People don't really talk about that unless you're actually really intentional about doing it. It's very difficult to kind of understand that, and I didn't realize how much it was going to impact me. And I think that this needs to be spoken about, because if you're not aware of it, if you're not aware of what's going on, you can very easily get burnt out quite quickly. You can get burnt out quite quickly because without you're not managing your own stuff, you're not managing the stuff that's happening in society. And give you an example, at the moment I'm feeling really, really sad and really quite it's hard to kind of articulate the words, but with this whole thing that's happening with Chris Carber, and his, my condolences go out to his family. His family must be absolutely beside themselves with all of this stuff. And then to add insult to the fact that this poor brother was murdered, some of the police have the audacity to say that they're putting down their weapons, in protest, because the officer got found guilty of murder. I mean, as a black therapist, as a black person, as a black therapist, it's very, very difficult to maintain your sanity at times and to not get overwhelmed. By all of these horrendous things that are happening in society. There was only the other week that we were seeing that the black woman in Peckham that was getting strangled by this other guy. Now there's this protest from the police about this police, because this police officer has been charged with murder for killing him. He was unarmed. The police, some of these police are doing all this foolishness now with that. There's just so many things. There was another article, literally, when I came onto Instagram, there's another article I saw about this young black girl. I think she's an Olympist or something like that, and they didn't give her medal. This little young black girl. All these little things, micro and macro aggressions that are we're constantly being attacked in the media. The anti-blackness is so intense. And without awareness around how to put in boundaries, without awareness around how to deal with the sadness and the anger that often accompanies, having to deal with these things all of the time. And I have boundaries around myself, my social media. I have boundaries around how much I look at social media. I have boundaries around, I have two different phones. I've got a work phone and I have a personal phone. And I don't have social media on my other phone now, my personal phone, because it got so intense. I had to have boundaries around it. And sometimes people will send me stuff. Not on my personal phone so much now, but people used to send me a lot of stuff, and sometimes people still inbox me stuff, and it becomes it grates at you. It wears you down. It becomes very, very difficult to be able to deal with stuff, and it can be overwhelming sometimes. And in order for me to really be able to show up for myself and to show up for my clients, I really have to make proper choices. I really have to make choices around my self-care. So Beverly's saying yes, all of that, June. And as a black body working in a white system 8 hours a day, there is no one to share it with, no respite. It feels like the death of 1,000 cuts. I become very yeah, exactly. There's a spectrum, isn't there? There's a spectrum of pain, of suffering, of microaggressions, of macroaggressions, of what we internalize, and there are so many layers and so many different things that happen to us. Just existing in the black body is really difficult, and it can be really, really stressful. The racial stress is real, and this is the reason why I say that the emphasis should not really have been put on the client, or not to say that the emphasis shouldn't have been put on the client. There should be more training. There should have been more in the training, okay, for black students, for black and non-white students, to really be able to deal with stuff and to prioritize the self-care. Because if your self-care is not in place, then you're not going to be able to deal with your clients. You're not going to be able to deal with your clients. And when we talk about self-care for therapists, it's not just about, okay, yes, you have your supervision, Okay, yes, you have your supervision, and you know, you go to supervision and you deal with the relationship with your clients and all the rest of it, but it's also the stuff that you're doing at home. Okay, it's also the stuff that you're doing at your home, how you manage your calendar, how many clients you decide to take on, you know, how you deal with your own vicarious trauma, what do you do when you finish with a client that's been particularly difficult, and all of these different things that are really, really important, that are going to help to build resilience, that are going to help you learn to process, they're going to help you learn to understand what's happening in your body, so that you can look after yourself with your own self, and also when you're in community, when you're in with others, and when you're with you know, when you have supervision and all of that kind of stuff. That stuff is so crucial. And this is the reason why the first module of my course, okay, the first module of my course is about self-care, is about racial wellness in particular, for therapists and wellness practitioners. You know, if you're a coach or a DEI consultant, stuff like that as well, these are all people that, you know, that are welcome to join the course, because this is all relevant. This is all relevant. So Beverly's also saying, my daily spiritual practice and time is silence, and it is what has served me well. Do you know what? That whole thing around silence as well is so important. That is absolutely fantastic that you're doing that, Beverly. I actually had a day of silence yesterday, or half day I should say, and I schedule them now. I schedule them regularly. You know, I schedule them regularly. I when I'm at home, I don't have any TV on. I don't have any I don't have my phone on, and I literally just plan things out. Sometimes I don't decide what I'm actually going to do on that day until the actual day arrives. But all I know is I just block out unstructured time, and I know that I'm going to be in silence for a period of time, and then the rest of the day I just allow myself just to do what I want to do. If I want to watch trash TV, I watch trash TV. If I want to go and walk out in nature, I'll go and do that. If I want to go to yoga, I'll go to yoga. But really giving yourself permission to really understand what racial wellness in particular means for you, and understanding that is really, really crucial. And something that I've been kind of talking a lot, both with clients and just generally, is really understanding and using an axis. And I think I did talk about this in one of my previous live streams. And you know, this axis is, you've got what happens intergenerationally. Okay, you've got that intergenerational trauma that's coming through, and then you've also got the stuff that happens every day. Okay, they're two very, very distinct types of racism, types of oppression, that are going to have an impact on your ability to show up. So the intergenerational stuff is the stuff that's been passed down through history, through our families and stuff like that we take on, patterns of behavior that we've learned, okay, that often enable racism, but it's also a survival behavior and stuff like that. It's important to understand all of these things. And then the everyday stuff is the stuff that I was talking to you, that I was just talking about with Chris Carver and the police, and you know, maybe having to manage clients that are sharing their own racial trauma experiences and stuff like that. So you have to understand the different types of trauma, of racial trauma, so that you can then take action on what you need to. So Beverly's also talking about clean pain and dirty pain. Yeah, so they intersect because the vertical axis, okay, which is intergenerational, that's more about dirty pain because it's been passed down and it's not been dealt with. The dirty pain can also show up in everyday racism, the stuff that we deal with every day, if it's also accompanied by avoidance, by by acting in, by withdrawing, by there's so many different ways that we can respond to it. But you know, if the way that we respond to racism creates more pain, okay, if the way that we respond to it in the present, if it creates more pain, then yes, it's absolutely dirty pain. The clean pain is really about, what I'm saying is taking ownership of how you feel, taking ownership of what's happening with your trauma, taking ownership of the ways, understanding your own coping mechanisms around how you deal with stuff. Okay, so once you understand the clean pain, then you can begin to take action, and sometimes taking action means doing nothing, in the sense that you need to rest. You know, when we talk about justice and we talk about liberation, when we talk about self-care, it's not always about activism and you know, going out and helping others. Sometimes going to lie down and rest is the best form of liberation that you can do. Because I think sometimes we can deny and minimize and not really understand how intense it is, how intense the charge is in dealing with this work, in doing this work, whether you're a therapist or whether you're just, you know, you're doing your own internal racial wellness work. You know, the charge can be very, very intense. And so as therapists, when we're having to deal with all of these things at these different levels, you're dealing with other people's trauma, you're dealing with your own historical trauma, and you're trying to deal with the stuff that's going on within you. You know, it can be quite overwhelming. So your self-care has to be a priority. Your self-care has to be a priority. And the more you're able to show up for yourself, okay, the more you're able to show up for yourself, the more you're going to be able to show up for your clients. You can't show up for your clients if you're not dealing with your own stuff. You know, you cannot show up for your clients if you're not doing your own stuff. You know, so Beverly's also saying, I love the quote as well by Audre Lorde. She's always talking about radical self-care, and she's talking about rest is a liberation as well for dysregulating, reclaiming dysregulation of my nervous system. Absolutely, all of these things are so important, but unfortunately I think with the training and stuff that we get as therapists, you know, as wellness practitioners, they don't always, I know obviously I can only speak for myself in the therapy training, is that we don't always get the training that we need, or the truth about the intensity of what it means to be doing a lot of trauma work as well. Because if you're a black therapist, you know, not only do you have to deal with your own trauma, but you know, you are going to be doing trauma work. You know, most black therapists are doing trauma work, and they don't always talk about. They don't even teach trauma work really at college. Not the college that I went to. They don't even teach it. The racial trauma work that I've learned and done for myself is through doing my own trauma work in therapy as a client, and also paying money for extra training so that I can understand racial trauma myself, and so that I can serve my clients more, in a much more holistic way. But they didn't really teach it. Certainly didn't teach about racial trauma at college. You know, so all of this stuff is really, really important. The other thing that I'll say as well is that, you know, a lot of therapists, they struggle with their own mental health. You know, a lot of therapists struggle with their own mental health. I've been quite transparent about being in recovery and dealing with my own stuff. But the reason why I'm able to show up is because, you know, I go to my recovery meetings. I work with my sponsor. I've got my own therapist. I go to supervision. There are so many different things that I do to make sure that I look after myself. And I know when things are getting difficult, especially when all of that nonsense comes up in the news, when we hear all these racist things, especially, I think the scariest thing about all of this stuff that happens in the news is that these are people in positions of authority. Okay, when we talk about the police and the government and people like that are behaving in disgusting racist ways, you know, it makes me feel unsafe. It makes the community feel unsafe, because these are people that are in positions of power that are behaving like this. These are people in positions of power that are behaving like this. So that is going to take its toll. That is going to create anxiety in us as a community. That is going to create, you know, that's going to make us feel some type of way. It's going to make us feel some type of way about what we're doing. You know, about how we're, you know, are we being protected by the police? If so many of these police are putting down their arms in protest because this police officer got charged with murder, you know, basically what they're saying is we want to be able to, you know, murder black people, and not be held accountable for it. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. They want to be able to do what they want to do with this, and not be held accountable. They don't want to be held accountable for it, and so it leaves black people in a very vulnerable position. It leaves black people in a very vulnerable position about how they feel in society. They know they're not going to be protected. The police will be able to kill with impunity and kill us with impunity, and us not be able to defend ourselves. And so there is going to be an impact. There is going to be consequences on our sense of self, on our sense of well-being, when we hear stuff like that in the news by these institutions that are in positions of power. And we need to be able to have a safe space to be able to have those conversations, because it's painful. It's painful. We need to be able to have those sort of conversations, because our clients are going to bring that stuff into the sessions. Okay, clients are going to bring those things into the sessions, which means that we as practitioners need to also have safe spaces to be able to process our own stuff. Because if you're not processing your own stuff as a wellness practitioner, how are you going to hold that space for your clients? If you're in denial about it, if you're not aware of it, if you're not conscious of what happens in the body, if you're not conscious of all of this stuff, how are you going to hold that space for your clients? You can't. You can't hold that space for your clients if you're not doing your own work. So this is why self-care has to come first before the stuff that you're doing around the clients. When you setting up in private practice, your self-care has to become first, to make sure that you are able to show up and that you have a trauma-informed, intercultural understanding of what's going on, so that you can hold space for your clients. If this stuff is really resonating with you and you want to work with me in the North Star Business School, click the link in my bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. Okay, so that's the first one. Okay, about the first thing that I wish I knew before going into private practice. The second thing that I wish I knew is you need systems in the back end. You need system. There is so much admin that goes into running your own private practice, and people don't always talk about that as well. They think there's this fantasy around, when I'm just going to be talking to clients, clients will give me money and I'll just sit here and talk to clients and that's it. And I'll go to supervision and that's it. If you want to run a private practice that is organized and that is managed well behind the scenes, you need to have systems in place, and you need to have stuff that's automated so that your clients can actually, when a client says yes, they want to work with you, then what happens in the back end? How do clients pay you? How can you make it easy for clients to pay you? How do you onboard your clients? This is the onboarding process. You need an automated onboarding process so that when clients they decide to work with you, they've got all the information that they need. How is the client going to read all your terms and conditions? I have an online portal set up so that the client, when they make the payment, they automatically get access to an online portal that's got all the information on there that they need, the terms and conditions, how to set up, how to book a session on my calendar. There's also a virtual library for them, so they can go in there and they can read stuff, they can watch other videos and stuff that I've created for them, and I teach them how to set up their own self-care practice as well at home in between sessions. These are all the things that I've set up in the back end. I've arranged all of this and set all this up in the back end so to make the experience for the client much smoother. There's not all this backwards and forwards and to-ing and fro and in emails and all the rest of it, because that's going to take up your time. That's going to take up a lot more of your time when you don't have those things set up. So it is really, really important that you understand and organize all of your back-end systems so that they're in place and automated, so all you need to do is give the client a link. Okay, they sign up for the session and then they show up. I don't even have to send my client no Zoom link or nothing. It's all automated. It's all automated. Okay, all of this stuff that I'm sharing now is I'm going to go into detail about all of this stuff. Some of it's going to be in the Money Moves term, in the Money Moves module of the course, which is going to be in more in the winter term, actually more sort of towards December. So I'm going to show people how to set all of that up. Any of the attendees that want to join the course, they'll learn how to set all of that up in the back end, so you don't have to worry about all of that stuff. Okay, but being organized, being automated, making sure that your back end systems are in place. This is all going to make your working in private practice a lot smoother, because you're not juggling around looking for things. Even using Google Drive. I use Google Drive as well to hold a lot of stuff. All of these stuff needs to be set up in the back end so that I know exactly. There's templates as well. There's loads of templates that I have to help me, so that the way that I do things is uniform. There's templates for everything, so that I'm not sending one thing to one client and then when sending something different to the next client. There's a uniform of terms and services and the way that I respond to certain things. All of that is is all set up in the back end, so that clients have there's a uniformity about it, and it's all on letterheaded PDFs and stuff like that. So I create all of the information, I put it in the back end, and then people can. Then I send all the different stuff. I send it all, to the clients as and when. So Beverly's saying, can you dip in and pay for one or two of the modules to complicate what business is over there? Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying earlier, Beverly. You can do that. So people that have already set up their business already, you might just want to refresh certain bits of it. You might just want to do one or two modules. Yeah, you will have the opportunity to do that as well, so you don't have to buy the whole 9-month thing, because if you've been set up in practice for a while, you might already have some of your systems in place. But if you just need a refresher, or you just want to understand some of the deeper ways to organize and automate and all of that kind of stuff, you can just buy that one. So it depends on what you want to do. So some of it will come under Money Moves, and some of it will come under client attraction and marketing, which is in the spring term. But if you click the link in my bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. You can register your interest, and you can have a look. All the curriculum and stuff is there, so it will be very clear what I'm going to be doing in which module, and then you can make a decision. But if you're on my email list, which I believe you are, Beverly, you'll get, I'll send you updates about all of that anyway. I'll send you updates about all of that, so then you can choose to just do one module. And then you don't have to do the whole 9 months, okay, depending on what's going to work for you. But yeah, all of that stuff is really, really important. You need to have all your back-end systems set up properly in order for you to be able to serve your clients in a way that's ultimate and make it easy for, again, the smoother that you have to think about your client's experience. You have to think about your client's experience, I mean, back in the day when I first started, when I was a client and I was seeing therapists, there was nobody I was seeing at the time that was doing what I was doing it all automated and booking it on the calendar. No one was doing any of that. The first therapist I had, I used to just give him cash. I used to pay him cash. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I don't really want to be walking with cash and stuff all the time. If I had a system where I knew that I could, here's what I do now. I mean, I actually set up automated payments for my clients. I set up subscription payments, so the money goes into my account every month, depends on how many sessions they have, and then they get access to my calendar, and they just book it on the calendar when they want to. Sometimes clients want to have the same time every week, so it can be set up on the calendar so it's recurring. And sometimes if people just want to do it ad hoc based on their own working calendar, maybe they can't do the same time every week, which is fine. They get access to my calendar and they book their own sessions on there, so that works. But all of it's automated, so the client has autonomy. There's no kind of argument about, well, you haven't paid me this week, you haven't transferred the money into my bank account. There's a lot of all of this stuff around money that can sometimes be very triggering, and it can be frustrating, and there's a lot of time is wasted chasing people's money. If you've got your terms in place, if people are paying by subscription, if they're transferring, if the client, the clients don't get access to my calendar until they've paid, basically. Clients do not get access to my calendar unless they've paid. That's how it works. And I know, I've heard hell stories about therapists that have got clients that are sort of, 2, 3, 4 sessions in arrears, in debt, and that just creates a lot more, it just gets messy. It gets messy, so, it's really important, again, to have all these back end systems in place, your terms in place, so that, clients are aware of what your terms and stuff are before you do any of that. So Beverly's also saying, as I want to attract clients of color, and the narrative, what the narrative is, we can run a business. Nonsense. Yeah, it's just, clarity is just magic. We have to be clear within ourselves, and you know what, it's not going to be perfect, okay, but if we can really understand what our triggers are in business, what are the things that we find difficult. Sometimes people find it difficult to talk about money. Some people find it difficult to show up around all the back end things. Some people are scared about using technology. They're scared of social media. They don't want to do all this stuff, and I get it, because sometimes people find it difficult to transition from doing these things. But what's really, really important is, if you're going to be working in private practice, you have to think about how you're going to adapt. Okay, how are you going to adapt your business, and what is going on in the marketplace? I would say 100% of the clients that I work with are people that found me on social media, that found me online. Okay, they found me via social media, via doing these live streams, via the stuff that I've posted on YouTube or whatever. A lot of my clients have found me online. They haven't found me from going on. And don't get me wrong. It's not to say that going on these therapist directories doesn't work, because I'm sure it does work for some people. But I know for me, having direct contact with my clients through social media that is free, okay, clients get an opportunity to understand who you are, understand how you work. You build a relationship with them. Once you build a relationship with them, they're more likely to come and work with you, because you've built a relationship with them in the live streams. And again, all of this stuff is really important when you've got your systems in place in the back end. Okay, there's systems in place in the back end. If you want to get a taster, okay, of what it would be like to work with me in the business school, I'm actually doing, I don't think you were here when I was talking about this, Beverly, if you're still on, I'm doing an open day. I'm doing a virtual open day on the 1st of October, okay, at 7 p.m. London time, where I'm going to be talking about, I'll be walking you through a taster of what one of the sessions will look like for you. Okay, so there'll be meditation, there'll be some psychoeducation, there'll be some exploration around certain questions and stuff like that. There'll also be a live Q&A as well, so you have the opportunity to ask questions about or that you might have about the business school, or things that you're struggling with that I can even add to the business school as well. Okay, so if you click the link in my bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net, and you can sign up for the open day. And you can sign up, and then obviously when you sign up, you'll be added to the mailing list, which means you'll get notified when stuff goes on. Oh, great, Beverly, it'll be good. I look forward to seeing you there. It'll be great. Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to say about what I really wish I knew before going into private practice is that you need to have a community. Okay, you need to have a community. When I was a student, I used to go to the Baton, that's the Black and Asian Therapist Network. They have student support days, which is great. So it only happened once a month, but you would go there and you would share what's, if you had struggles, whatever going on at college, because some of the tutors at college are racist. They don't want to admit it, but some of the racist nonsense some of the stories that I heard from some of these students was heartbreaking. Okay, you need to have a community, and even when you qualify, you still need a community. And it took me a while to kind of get into to really transition and find a community that's really, really important as a therapist. Hi Michelle, thanks for joining. So yeah, you need to have not only do you need a community, okay, of other therapists, you need to have a community of intercultural. You need an intercultural community, okay, so that you can have honest conversations about race and oppression and what's happening for you in your private practice and your self-care and all of this kind of stuff. Because I've noticed now that the places that I used to go to before, okay, even some of the recovery meetings that I used to go to, I can't go to those meetings no more. Because sometimes clients go to those meetings, sometimes the content is just, it's just not appropriate anymore. I need to be in the community with other therapists. so that I can continue to grow, you know. And sometimes that can be quite hard, you know, because the more of this work that you do, the more awareness that you have around doing this work, you need to up your game around the people that could support you, you know. I mean, I do supervision, I do the Baton groups as well for therapists. I have a business coach. The list goes on. But I need to be in these spaces. I need to be able to be around other therapists. I need to be around other wellness practitioners that are going to nurture me. It needs to be reciprocal. Okay, and this is the thing that happens when you don't make that transition. Okay, there's a quote that says, I can't remember who said this quote, but something like, you know, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. And that doesn't mean that you're disrespecting the people that, doesn't mean I'm disrespecting the people that are still learning. It just means that I have to be honest and remember that, you know, I've been in therapy for 13 years. I've been in recovery for 13 years. I've been in business for 8 years. You know, I've got a lot of experience. So I'm not going to feel nurtured in the groups that I used to go to 10 years ago. I'm not gonna get nurtured in those groups. So I need to up my game in the groups that I'm in, so that I can continue to learn and grow, because I can't be held in those groups that I used to be in before. And that's an important part of your self-care as a therapist. This is part of the thing that I needed to learn. Yeah. So Beverly's also saying, I have leveled up and left long-standing groups as I have developed self. They no longer serve me. This is so important. Because then what happens is, if you stay in the groups that you were in before, sometimes you can end up just feeling resentful. Yeah? Sometimes you can end up feeling resentful because the groups that you were in before are not nourishing you anymore. They're not nourishing you anymore. They're not nourishing you no more. So you need to leave those groups. You need to be honest with yourself about what you need, what you're looking for. And you need to leave those groups and find yourself in a group that is going to be able to nourish you and speak the language that you understand. And the other thing as well is, don't just assume that if you're in a group with other black people, that they're going to be talking about intercultural stuff, because a lot of black people are not doing this racial work. That's the real talk. A lot of black, because again, that's indicative of the training that we have. A lot of the therapist training, they're not doing this intercultural work. They're not doing the trauma-informed work. They're not doing it. So not only do you need to find a group that looks like you, but you need to also ensure that they are actually doing the intercultural work and they're doing the trauma-informed work. If they're not doing it, then you need to question why. You need to ask yourself why. Because it's gonna, you can't serve your community. You can't even look after yourself. If you're not doing the work, how are you looking after yourself? If you're a black person, you're a black therapist, you're a black wellness practitioner, and you're not doing the intercultural work, you're not having those conversations, you're not in communities that are having active, intentional conversations about this stuff, how are you gonna hold space for your clients when you're not doing this work? You can't. It's impossible. It's impossible. And don't get me wrong, it is going to challenge you, and it is going to feel uncomfortable at times, and sometimes it's painful. But the benefits is that you are going to grow as a therapist. You are going to feel more confident as a therapist. You are going to feel more confident in your black skin. You are going to be able to hold space for your clients in a much more compassionate way, because you're not in denial about your own challenges as a black therapist living under the systems of oppression. You're not in denial about any of that. So it's easier for you to hold space for your clients when you're doing that. Hi Rose, thanks for joining. So you need to be able to find yourself in a community of other practitioners that are doing this work. Okay, you need community in order to do it. You can't do it by yourself. I know that this is something that I have to keep reminding myself of all the time, because my default is always, I'll do it myself. And my subconscious default is always, I can do it myself. And that goes back to my childhood stuff. that goes back to my childhood stuff about thinking that no one's going to support me, no one's going to help me, so my default is always I need to do it myself. And I have to remind myself that I'm not doing that anymore. I don't need to do that anymore. And that I need to find myself in communities where I can be heard, where I can be supported, where people understand, where I can use the language of therapy and people get it. And where I can get support and I can get nourished by other people and people will identify. All of this stuff is a really important part of the self-care, but it's a process and a journey that you need to go through. And this is an ongoing thing. It's not just something that, that you just do when you finish your training, or even if you do my course. This is an ongoing process that is really going to help you to move forward with and help to build your confidence as a therapist. So, the 9-month process that I'm going to take you through, okay, doing this is going to give you the foundations, what you need. Yeah, it's going to give you the foundations that you need to help you set up everything that you need, starting with your self-care. Once you have those foundations in place, then, it's just maintenance. It's just maintenance. It's just your supervision. It's the community. It's all that kind of stuff. But the first few months, the foundational parts, the fear of success, the fear of being seen, fear of bebeing visible, all of those things, all the stuff around money, the fears around money, the fear of success, under earning, overspending. There's so many different things that need to be worked through. And these are things that we're all going to talk about over the 9-month process of doing this. So if you like what you've heard today, if you're interested in joining me for the North Star Business School, click the link in my bio, go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. Okay. The amazing thing about what I'm going to be sharing with you about this experience is that all of the things that I went through over the last 8 years of setting up in business, okay, I'm going to teach you all of that. And that you don't have to go through it all by yourself. You don't have to be figuring it out, kind of guessing, what should I do this? Should I try that? I'm going to lay it out for you. You'll get templates. There'll be psychoeducation. There'll be support around your body psychology. You might be having traumatic reactions to some of the things that you may or may not be asked to do. You'll understand and be held and understand your own challenges around what it means to show up. What it means to show up, both practically and internally within what's happening within your body. You're going to learn how to do all of that. You'll get the tools and you'll get to practice. And you'll have me holding your hand throughout the whole 9 months, or whether you choose to do one module. Yeah, so you won't have to do it all yourself, So Michelle's saying, bless you, June, thank you, great what you are doing for the community. Listen, you know how much I love what I do. And it's so needed because, I don't know anyone else that's doing this. I don't know anyone else that's doing this at this depth, that's really diving in beyond the practical stuff. It's one thing to learn how to deal with the practical things, but another thing to talk about the fear and the body trauma and how your childhood stuff and your racial trauma, all of that stuff, how that kind of gets enmeshed with the process of setting up in business and how it plays out, how you can act that stuff out or act in. So you need to understand all of that stuff, what's happening to you. Once you understand all of that, and we can have some honest dialogues about all of those things as a group, as a community, then it's going to make it so much easier for you to take the steps that you need to take, because you understand what's happening to you. You don't feel like you're the only one going through it. You don't feel like nobody understands, because I get it, and I've been there and I've done it. So I'll be able to help you understand and unpack and explore what's happening to you at an emotional level, at a professional level, at a practical. You're going to get all of the different layers to be able to talk about what's happening for you. So it's going to make the journey so much more richer and so much more holistic for you to be able to do all of that. Okay, so if you know someone who's a student or wellness practitioner that needs this business school, tag them, forward it to them, email it to them. If you've got any questions at all about anything that I'm going to be doing in the business school, you can click the link in my bio and you can find out all of the details there. Again, if you want to join me for the open day that's going to be on the 1st of October, Sunday the 1st of October at 7 p.m, there's an open day where you're going to get a little taste of what's going to be happening in the business school. You can join me for that. Again, all of the details are with the link in my bio. So go to heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. That's heal.juneallen.net. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today. If you've got any questions, again, you can send me a DM, email me, info@godofgreatness.com. Okay, and I will answer your questions there. All right, take care, everyone, and I will see you next time. Okay, bye.